Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, we're going to be talking about all things travel because, as you know, the holidays are coming up. A lot of you are going to be traveling, so I figured it would be good to have a travel expert on, as I am joined by the founder of Yampu Tours, Monica Irauzqui. Monica is a New York Times speaker as well as a travel expert and trainer. So we're going to be talking to her about her experiences and everything that her company does. Monica, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Curtis, for having me.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, 23 years ago, my husband and I had traveled to Machu Picchu just the year earlier, and we were trying to decide, what our next move was career-wise. And we started a travel business selling tours to Peru. And that was wonderful because we loved it, and we shared what we loved with our new clients that we found. And every year we went to a new destination, and then we started selling new tours, and now we do over 70 countries.
All right. Well, sounds like you definitely are doing a lot there. Tell us about your experience.
Owning a tour company has been amazing because I'm able to share what I'm passionate about with people all day long. And I'm always thinking about what I'm passionate about. And I really like making people happy. So, and travel makes people happy most of the time. So that's a really nice, reason to get up every morning. And, I never complain about it being Monday or, even though I do like Fridays because I drink margaritas on Fridays, but I do love what I do.
Absolutely. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So tell us about some of the places that you have actually went to and why they were some of your favorite places.
Well, okay. So I guess I'll start with Peru because my husband's from Peru. That was the trip that inspired us to start doing this. And I've been back almost every year, not for the last 2 years, but before that, almost every year. And Peru has just a little bit of everything. It has, of course, has Machu Picchu in the Andes and Cusco. These are the really beautiful places. Should be on everybody's bucket list. Just out of God's imagination, just beautiful. You just want to stand there and just take it all in and meditate and be quiet and just watch. That's always how I feel when I go to Machu Picchu. But Cusco, Peru also has the jungle and all the beautiful plants and fruits and vegetables that come from the jungle. It has the desert, one of the driest deserts in the world, the Nazca Desert. It has so many different kinds of biospheres. It has the jungle, the Andes, the desert, the ocean, and the fusion of food that comes from all of these different areas, and also all the immigrants that have come in over the years, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Spanish, of course, who came so many years ago and made such a big influence on Peru. And then, of course, the Andeans and the people that live there themselves. So we have this beautiful mesh of different cultures that go into the food with these beautiful ingredients. So I always like to talk to people about the food in Peru. It's one of my favorite things. And usually I'll include like a cooking tour. We also, Peru has stayed very in the Andes and also in the jungle. You'll see that people have kept to their culture. They're not Lima is a very sophisticated city, but when you get out to some of the smaller villages, they have a very deep culture that's so different from ours that I really enjoy sharing that and learning about their culture and seeing how different yet similar they are to me. That always makes a big impact on me and my family and my clients. So I share this with all the clients. So I would say Peru, I've gone on about it too much, but also Kenya is one of my favorites because I love nature and I love animals and I love the people in Kenya again. So, being on safari, I could just do it. Some people think they can't do it more than 3 or 4 days, but seriously, I did it for a month, just visiting safari camp after safari camp, and I just loved it. So I couldn't live without Kenya. And then I could just go on and on all day long. I mean, I love Italy, I love Greece, I love Japan. Laos was an unexpected treasure. And I went there just before COVID. So I was so grateful to have gone there. Cambodia is an amazing country with amazing people and such an interesting, intricate history that's sad and devastating, yet has brought us some of the most beautiful people I've ever met on earth. Anyway, Curtis, you have to stop me because I could go on and on.
Well, tell us about, you said in your bio how you feel that everyone should use a tour company to schedule travel. Why do you feel that way?
So, yeah, because when you use a tour company, we figure everything out for you before you go. And there's a lot of time is spent on, talking to you, finding out what you like, as far as what kind of experiences you want to do, what kind of hotels you like. And then we've been to all these destinations and inspected the different kinds of hotels. So we can, once we talk to you, we can match you with the hotels and the experiences and the guides. And we take a lot of time to match everything perfectly. And then we really work through the details of every single detail from the time you arrive on the plane. Someone is there waiting for you with a sign. And this was always one of the most important services in a tour, because right when you get off the plane and you're tired, sometimes you've traveled 8, 10, 12 hours, 14 hours, 18 hours to get there. And somebody with a cheerful face is waiting for you, and they whisk you off and take you to your hotel and help you get checked in. And it's such a great way. And now, after COVID, I feel like it's safer not to get in the car with a stranger. The cars are very clean and they're definitely going to be there. Right now, there's a shortage of transportation worldwide, as far as I can tell. So having that transportation set up, it's also like when you arrive at a busy airport, sometimes it's the worst place for mishaps. Some of these countries, everyone and their relatives go to the airport. So you get out of the plane and there's hundreds and hundreds of people, and they're asking you, oh, come with me, so the safe transfer is really important. And then having every single thing planned out for you. For example, in Peru, you need permits to get into Machu Picchu, you need permits to go on the Inca Trail. So all of these little details, the train, all the tickets, everything has been bought for you. So while you're on, so it helps you to budget, because really the only thing you don't pay for in advance is your meals and tips and shopping. Everything else is paid for. So you can budget what your trip is going to be. And then you don't spend half your day figuring out, where am I going today? How am I getting tickets? Am I going to have to stand in a line? We're figuring all of this out for you. And our drivers and guides are safe. They're personable. They give you like personal stories about each country that you just don't get on your own. A lot of places that I've gone on my own, I just didn't really get the full benefit out of it as I would with a guide who gives me, some history. He gives me personal anecdotes, and they keep you safe. And so that's really important. And also when you're traveling with a group or a family, I know I've done trips where I was like, I'll just go, I won't use our guides. We'll just go to the beach, and we spend half the day arguing about what we're doing, so one kid wants to go kayaking and the other doesn't, so if you plan it all out in advance and you have a family meeting and you go over it and everybody kind of knows what to expect and they just kind of get in line and enjoy themselves instead of spending the whole time thinking about what you're going to do. And also we can take you places that you can't go on your own. Like, for example, in Costa Rica, we went to this butterfly farm, and this is not something, there are different butterfly museums and things around the country, but this is a farm. These people raise these butterflies for museums, and they don't take very many people in a day. So it was private. We went in and we had a beautiful meal. The woman showed us how to make chocolate from the cocoa beans that she had collected from her farm. And then they showed us how they farm the butterflies. And it was a really beautiful experience. I've been to so many butterfly places, but I've never learned as much as I learned there. I learned about the camouflage on their wings. I learned so much. And they were all flying around. It was an amazing experience. Blue morpho butterflies. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they're almost the size of your hand and they're bright blue. And those butterflies, they're flying all around. I actually put a TikTok video if anybody wants to look for it. And it's my first TikTok video that went viral. I'm really excited about that. But everybody really loves those butterflies. And that's the kind of things that tour operators know and they can get you into that you would never find on your own.
Wow, never knew that they had butterfly farms. Let's talk about COVID. You mentioned COVID. Talk about some of the travel bans that are in effect and where can people actually travel and where can they not go?
Okay. So if you're vaccinated, you're going to have a lot more options than if you're not vaccinated. I would say that Asia is pretty much out for this year. I think that Australia will be opening soon, but Asia's out. I just wouldn't plan for until maybe the end of 2022 to go to Asia. But Europe is pretty much most of it. You can go to Croatia, you can go to Greece, you can go to Turkey, you can go to Italy, Spain, you can go to most of South America, you can go to Central America. Mexico is an option for someone who's not vaccinated. You can go to Mexico. The options for unvaccinated people, you still may have options, and you'd have to ask me about it because it changes all the time. But for unvaccinated people, a lot of countries in Central and South America will still accept you with a negative COVID test. So that's good. I think Europe will be harder for the unvaccinated. So it's actually kind of way more complex story right now than it was a year ago, because a year ago the rule was the same for everybody. But now that, there's people who are pretty much, getting their vaccinations and the ones that aren't, and all the rules are different for each one. So we have to take it on a case-by-case basis, but you have a lot of options right now of where you can travel.
Well, since we're kind of in the holiday season, a lot of families are going to be together. Then you're going to have stuff like Valentine's. Let's talk about the best travel trips for, couples, kids, family type of stuff.
Okay. So for couples, there's a private island in Panama, and they actually have a couple of rooms for New Year's still left. As of a couple of days ago, I don't know how long it will take this to air, but as of a couple of days ago, that beautiful private island and they have these cabanas that kind of look like Robinson Crusoe, but they're right on the beach. It's just amazing. And they're very cutely decorated, and the service at this place is amazing. And so that would be a good place for couples. And then for families, I like Belize. Belize, they speak English there. So it makes it easier for parents, who have young children that really need to communicate more with the hotels. And Belize has the second largest reef in the world after Australia. So there's some amazing snorkeling. And I still have this picture of my daughter when she was about 10 snorkeling, and she had picked up, something, and I forget what it was, but it was something that she'd found under the ocean, and it was really beautiful. And you can see turtles there, and manta rays. I remember my kids were really scared of the manta rays at the time, but the guides really knew how to handle them. And it's really, and you go into Sharks Alley, so you see these little sharks, but they're not harmful ones. They're like reef sharks. So really beautiful, clear water. So really, Belize is one that's really good. Ecuador is great for families because the Galapagos is like a science lab. It's just great, and kids love it. So I would say Galapagos, and then in inland Ecuador, you could go to the former president's home. We could do a cloud forest where you can ride kind of like a little cycle at the treetop, like hundreds of yards in the air. That's incredible. So we could do something like that in Ecuador. Costa Rica is always like for kids. There's so many. That's where the butterfly place I was telling you about is. There's so many birds and monkeys and sloth and just animals everywhere in nature, not in a zoo, but just out, just walking on a trail. You can see so much wildlife in Costa Rica. So Costa Rica, and then Costa Rica has the volcanoes. And I definitely suggest don't just go to Costa Rica for the beach. That's the wrong plan. If you want to go to the beach, just go to Mexico. Beaches are better in Mexico anyway. Go for the nature and the jungle and learning about plants and animals. It's incredible, Costa Rica. So those are the really good ones for families. And then if you want to do like older families with older kids, I think that I've got a lot of families doing Dubai lately. And Turkey and Croatia have been big with families this year, as with older kids. And then also, I think Egypt is amazing this year, and it would be really good with older kids or your children that are in their 20s. So teens or people in their 20s, kids that are in their 20s, plus their parents and grandparents. You could all do a Nile cruise together. You could go to the beach there. There's just so much to do, so many incredible things to see in Egypt. So that would be a good one. And also Turkey is lovely. And you could rent a boat. And Croatia. Croatia has food and beautiful experiences. So many old cities that are just incredible. And there was a town called Zadar in Croatia that has an organ that is played by the waves. It's incredible. There's just so much to see in Croatia. You would really need like 10 days to 2 weeks there. So those would be my ideas for different kinds of different kinds of groups. And then also I only said Panama for couples. Any of these destinations can be done romantically for couples. Also, safari is amazing for couples. Botswana, Kenya, Tanzania. So all of those would be good too.
Speaking of a safari, what tips would you give somebody on planning a safari?
So I actually have done a speech on that at one of the travel shows. I believe it was in London Times. I did a speech on that because I did a talk on how to talk to someone like me about your trip to Africa, because a lot of people will call me up and say, I want to go to Africa. And Africa is so different. It's kind of like the United States. Every state is different. So I usually ask them, are you mostly safari oriented? Is that your main goal? Or do you want a mix of, beach and wine and city and safari? And so if their main focus is safari, then my two favorites would be Kenya and Botswana. But Kenya I sell the most because I can get more for the money in Kenya. Tanzania is also great, but it's more expensive. So Kenya is Kenya, Tanzania, and Botswana were my favorite as far as wildlife. Now, if you want a variety, South Africa would be better because you can do safari for 4 or 5 days, and then you can go to Cape Town. You can go up to Vic Falls, which is on the border of Zimbabwe and Zambia, and it combines really well with South Africa. You can do the garden route. There's so much to do in South Africa, and it's not all safari. So you have a lot of culture, a lot of different nature, wine, adventure. I've done great boys adventure trips that I did for South Africa and Zambia combined. That was really fun. So it really just depends on the client. And so another thing you want to talk to your travel advisor about is what kind of accommodation that you are happy with. So I love the tented camps. For me, if I can get anybody to go to a tented camp, I mean, I just think it's the most beautiful, natural, the animals are right outside your tent. It's amazing. But some people wouldn't be comfortable with that. Some people need walls and a door, that locks. So, and so for those people, like maybe South Africa would be better. Maybe it has more of the lodge options. Kenya and Tanzania have them too. But it's definitely something to discuss with your travel advisor. And then also, what kind of vehicles do you want? Because if you're traveling from place to place, you might have a vehicle that you could stand up and you put your head out and you see the wildlife from up above. But then when you're going on the roads, or if there's tsetse flies, which are in Tanzania sometimes, they can close it up and then you're safe. But if you want to be in one of those, you've seen the pictures of people in a complete open car. And this is all things that you need to discuss with your travel expert, because they're going to make sure that you get what's in your dream. The worst thing is to have one thing in your head and arrive there and it's something completely different. So an open vehicle, usually we do those on flying safaris, where you fly into the lodge and then the lodge has the open vehicle. And those are great, because you're just like, the first time I was in one of those was in Botswana, and there was like this huge lion with a big mane, like 4 feet from me, and I was in the front. But it was just an exhilarating experience that I'll never forget. So definitely you want to talk to your travel advisor about every single thing that you've read about, any pictures you've seen, send them. Make sure that we know what is in your mind and in your heart, because this is one of the most important trips you'll ever plan.
Well, talk about disability accommodations. You have people that are blind and have all types of disabilities. How do you guys accommodate people with disabilities?
Well, in Africa, there are safaris that can do wheelchairs. If someone is blind, anywhere in the world that I would send them, our guides could completely take care of them and really make it a beautiful experience. And any kind of disability, or any kind of anything from being in a wheelchair to maybe it's an allergy, we need to know about it, and we will make sure that every single person you're going to meet along the way knows that that maybe for example, you're just allergic to shellfish. Every single place that you eat will know that you're allergic to shellfish, or you have any kind of disability, and we will tailor make the itinerary around. I have some clients that knees are failing, and they want to get out and see these things, but they really just can't walk that far. So some things like we can do like a different entrance. Like most people have to walk a path, but then sometimes they have an entrance that somebody that has a disability being able to walk would be able to go less, or they could go. I know in Iguazu, Argentina, they have wheelchairs with huge wheels. They can get out on those paths. So some places we can find things like that. So we definitely do our best to work on, getting the best trip for anybody. Just need to really be open with us about what you need.
Well, in some places you go to, you have to have malaria medicine. So give some tips on getting the right malaria medicine and what people would need to do to take care of that.
That's a great question. So I have a blog on that in my somewhere on my website, and it's called "The Good, the Bad of Malaria." There is a chart on the CDC website, and it's really hard to find, and I have it on my blog, and you can just click the link. And if anybody wants it, I can send it to you. That chart goes through the different kinds of malaria medicine there are and what the pros and cons of them are. And then each country that you're visiting has different kinds of malaria. Not all pills will work for each country. So there's another chart on the CDC website that will show you what malaria medicine is good in what countries. And then me personally, I usually give my family and me Malarone. It's more expensive, but you take it the day before. So you don't have to take it like well before and well after. Like you only take it for the time you're there. And I believe it's one pill a day, and it doesn't have bad side effects. In fact, it actually clears up your acne because you can also use that for acne medicine. So that one is the one that I like, but it may not be for everyone. And it's good to also have read the pros and the cons before you go see your doctor, because if you go, I'm from a small town, so I don't mean to knock small towns, but if you go to a small town doctor that hasn't had a lot of experience with travel, they may recommend you, Larium, which is way too strong, and you don't need that in most places, and that really messes with your head. So you want to make sure that you kind of know what you want, and then you ask the doctor, can I have this? Because the doctor knows what you're allergic to, what your other health limitations are. And then you also just need to cross-reference it with that page, that's what country you're going and if it works there. But Malarone works in most of the places that I sell. So that's the one I usually tell people that I use, but also always check with your doctor.
Well, I know this is going to be different in each area or each place you go, but talk about what to pack and how do you interact with the locals, just maybe in general, because I know it's different in each place.
Yeah, so each place is different. One thing to think about now is water bottles, because some countries like Costa Rica, for example, and I think Kenya too, they don't, or maybe it's Rwanda, one of those, they don't allow a single-use plastic anymore. So taking a water bottle with you would be good. Most of the good hotels have good filtered water for you, so that you can get safe water to drink, but you're not using the single-use plastic. So that's a good one. Always, layers on most places that you go have can vary a lot in temperature from morning to the afternoon to the night. So layers are always good. And as far as interacting with the local, so in my documents, I have a couple pages on this for each country, because every country has different norms. They have different laws. Like I think it's Uganda that's like it's illegal, or it's South Africa. I think it's Uganda where it's illegal to walk across the street looking at your phone, which I think is so funny. That's probably I remembered it because my husband does that all the time. He walks across the road reading his phone, so that's illegal. So you want to know, like, in some countries, putting your foot up, like a bare foot up, is kind of like they frown upon that. That would be very rude. So each and every country has its different like little social norms. So we'll write up a few pages on that, and it's kind of really nice to study that. But for the most part, everywhere I go, people are very friendly, and I suggest that you just try to talk to people. They're friendly. They want to know about you. They're probably intrigued with you because you're different. You're from a different culture. You look different from them. You dress differently from them. So they're really interested in you. And so just, smile and, don't feel shy. Really interact because they love it. Everywhere I go, people love when I interact with them. The other thing is they just ask them questions about their life too. And you really get to know them, and it just makes your experience much more meaningful.
Give us some tips on staying healthy when traveling.
That's a great question. So, if you haven't traveled very much around the world, one thing that you might want to avoid, and I hate to say this, is fresh vegetables, because the water that they use in the kitchen may just have bacterias on it that you're not used to, your body's not used to, and so it can get you sick. If you're eating at maybe a very upscale restaurant or an expensive hotel, maybe, but especially if you're just eating at a restaurant you just walked in off the street on, you want to get things that are very well cooked. So that's the number one rule: no fresh vegetables like out in the street, that have been washed with their water. Okay. And then also, depending on what country you're in, you might not be able to drink the water right out of the tap. So you do need some kind of, the hotel usually has water that's been processed and is tourist friendly. Our guides will bring water. In the countries where they're not allowed to bring water bottles, they'll bring, the purified water in a container that they can pour into your water bottle. So be careful of the water you drink. One thing that I never let my kids do is, if I'm in the Caribbean or anywhere that's hot, like Central America, and I love those small towns, really local fishing villages, in those hot, sultry destinations. So if you're there, and especially like third world, like Central America, like their electricity can go on and off. So I would not let them have ice cream unless it was like a really well vetted place, and definitely not in one of those carts. When people walk around with carts, I wouldn't let my kids eat ice cream out of one of those carts. It had to be like in a mall or something, which I hate to go to malls when I travel, but it's just one of those things that if the ice cream gets unfrozen and frozen, you can get sick. I also got sick having mozzarella in Colombia. This was 25 years ago. That was stupid to do it. I was in my 20s. I didn't know. But I had fresh mozzarella at a bus station, and I was deathly ill for days. So fresh cheese, yeah, if you're in Tuscany, fine. But if you're in Colombia, no, So just be really careful about the dairy products that you eat. Also, like alcohol, make sure that I wouldn't take it off a street, just a street cart or something. I want to see it in a bar. I'd like to see the bartender pull it off the shelf, and so be careful, about what you're drinking, fresh vegetables, and just, you can't go wrong with rice and something really well cooked, in any country, or soups or things that have been boiled or fried or, sauteed, cooked really well at a good temperature.
For those who would like to incorporate volunteering in their trips, tell them how they can do that.
Well, that's a great question. We can do that in a lot of different places. One thing that you can do, anybody can do this, even if you don't have time, is go on the website Pack for a Purpose. And they have different hotels that they work with. And those hotels will usually have some kind of organization that they are supporting and they give back to. And they'll have a list of things that you can bring from home and leave with them that they need. So you fill your bag full of stuff, and then you can go shopping with all that empty space. So that's a really good thing you can do. You can volunteer. A tour company like mine can arrange volunteering. We can arrange, go to community I had some clients that were optometrists, and they went into a community in Peru and they made like 35 pairs of glasses for the people right there on the spot. So that was incredible. They changed 35 lives that day. But so you could bring whatever your skill is. If you're a teacher, we could have you work with some kids teaching. Even we've organized like games, like just playing soccer with some kids. My daughter went to Zambia and she worked for a month and she taught kids, and they were so sweet to her, and they wrote her a song when she left, and it was just a beautiful experience. So almost every country that is that there's some countries that they don't actually want us to volunteer. They have a lot of pride. Like Japan, it was really hard for me to figure out because I had some clients that wanted to give back, and it was really hard there because they have this a big amount of pride, and they don't take charity. So some places need us and some places don't. So I would say have sensitivity to that. But if you're needed, like we had some clients build a house in Chile, and this was incredible to me because they built that house right before COVID. They built it in I think it was September 2019, and got a family that didn't have a home into a home. And when COVID hit, this family had a home that they didn't have before. So that was really amazing, that they did that for them. So depending on your budget and what your skill set is and how much time you have, we can arrange some volunteering for you.
Do you have any current or upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about?
Well, we've been working on adding a lot of destinations to our repertoire because we had a lot of time where we weren't booking clients. So we've been adding a lot of different destinations. We added all the stands in Mongolia and Croatia, and gosh, we added Fiji, Polynesian Islands, Tahiti. So there's a lot of destinations and that we added so that's what project that we've been working on the last 6 months. And so I would say to people, because I've been noticing that I think when people plan on their own, a lot of times they'll go to a beach resort. And I've been noticing that the beach resort the prices are just incredible. They've gone up like 3 or 4 times as much as what they were 2 years ago. So right now, working with a tour operator that can take you into really quaint places and you can see culture and you can see nature and you can do adventure, that may be the way to go the next couple of years. And so, I would say to people, be open to it and pick a destination that you're interested in, work with a tour operator, hopefully it's me, and do a trip that, you're seeing different things and you're not just sitting in one place every day. Be open for an adventure. And I think it's going to work out probably better price wise. And definitely we help a lot with all the different changing and navigating all the different COVID rules, and they're always changing, and we're constantly checking and double checking and changing flights and this and that, for people. So it's that's what we've been working on. I hope you guys will come and work with me on it.
Well, you mentioned your blog and different literature that you have. So give out your full contact information, your website, social media links, so that way people can connect with you and use you to travel.
Sure. So our company name is Yampu. It's YAMPU, and we're yampu.com. And on our website, you can chat with us, you can email us, you can call us. So every kind of way that you would want to contact us is on there. And we also have Facebook and Instagram. And my personal Instagram, I'm Monica with a C. Irauzqui, Irauzqui experiences. And that's my personal things that I'm getting in and adventures that I'm getting into every day are there. And I'm also on TikTok with the same name and Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, you can search me And also definitely get on that Yampu website. We have all of our countries that we sell there. The tours that we have on the website are a starting point. A lot of the most amazing destinations are still in our heads, but everything's on the website. All the countries we sell are on the website. And it's a good idea to what is in each country and kind of start getting excited about it.
Do you have any final thoughts to close it out about anything travel, anything that we missed?
Yeah, I would just say that if you haven't traveled internationally, get a passport and pick the country that you've always wanted to go to and start with that one. And if you do it through a tour operator, it's going to be easy, it's going to be seamless, and you'll really get get excited about travel. And if you used to travel and you haven't traveled in a while, I would say now it's time to go back to travel. But I would say don't do it between Christmas and New Year's, or on spring break. Like pick some off season times and you'll have way more fun. Because if you're at the airport and it's super crowded and there's a million people, and long lines everywhere. And one thing I wanted to tell you guys that I meant to mention earlier is a lot of the employees this year, a lot of people are understaffed and there's so much demand. So I would say have patience with everybody. Don't be late because that makes you more impatient. Just try to always be kind of not pack too much in your day and, save room for, a mishap here and there, and just be really patient with all the people that are working in hotels and airports and, buses or wherever you are. Just be patient with people because they really need it right now. I've just been noticing that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Yampu Tours Monica Irauzqui. Please be sure to follow, rate, review, and share this episode after listening, especially to all your travel friends. And hopefully after listening to this episode, you'll get into travel. Android listeners, go to the Google Play Store and download the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast app. Monica, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome, Curtis. Thank you.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.